try and read 5 pages and you'll see exactly what I mean. It is a lot more difficult than it sounds. You've got to give it time to grow. Ego can be a detriment to everybody. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Makin Mastery podcast. I am your host, Ollie Makin, and today's episode is going to be a solo mission, answering your questions, which I am super duper excited for. Now, I put out on one of my Instagram stories, like a question poll, thingy-bobs, whatever you call it, generating questions from you guys, from the audience, and I managed to compile 3 every single question was absolutely amazing, of course, and we're getting more and more questions each week, which is just unfathomable. It's amazing, right? These 3 questions, I believe, are a great way to cap off the year of 2024 closing in. So let's get straight into it, shall we? First question. Having such an intense routine, do you ever get burnt out? And is there any advice to cope with that? I laughed at this question because it's something that I've actually discovered or realized within the past couple of weeks that, well, I asked myself the question and I got asked the question, am I spreading myself too thin? The answer to that was yes. I did believe I was spreading myself too thin. And it's difficult for somebody who enjoys a lot of things, enjoys doing a lot of things, has many hobbies and many interests. But I know that I know of a lot of people who are in a similar boat to me. They enjoy doing a lot, and it is difficult to handle everything at once. And it's because it's not ideal if you want to excel at something or if you want to master something. It's not ideal to be spreading your focus between, let's say you've got 3 main interests, putting 33% into each. It's not ideal. You really want to be honing in on one and putting in 100%. But let's say it's just to not feel burnt out. Okay, what can you do if you enjoy doing so many things? So yes, I do certainly have an intense routine. It's my choice. There's trial and error. There's been plenty of things I have thought I enjoy the idea of doing, done it, realize it's way too much for me to do in the day. My routine now, it's curated to my needs and what my body can handle, right? So I don't want to give the bland, broad response of, it depends on the person, and, you've got to make your own routine. But I'll answer it by saying what I've done, and then you can sort of take your own twist on it and curate it to your own personal needs. But me myself, what I do in a day-to-day basis, obviously now and again a few things will change, but every single day consists of podcast ideas, unless it's one day in the week it will be the actual recording of the podcast, but every other day will just be podcast ideas. It will be reading, it'll be learning, it'll be music production, it'll be DJing, it'll be content creation, it'll be working out. So it's a lot of stuff, right? But I've managed to create a routine and a daily schedule that incorporates all that sort of stuff and still allows me time to have my own me time and meditation and all that sort of stuff. I've had to sacrifice a lot. So that's probably the first thing I would say for you to do. Sacrifice. Unfortunately, you won't be able to do anything and everything you would like to do on a day-to-day basis. All right, if there's something that you can put off until the end of the week, it's better doing something once a week than not at all, right? Let's say you want to do something. Let's say you love surfing, but you live far from the beach. You would want to do it every day. But instead of just scrapping it off and going, okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice. No, make a set day during the week where you go down to the beach and you surf, treat yourself. But you will have to sacrifice to develop a consistent, manageable daily routine. Unfortunately, I've had to sacrifice a few things. Not many things, fortunately. I've managed to, sacrifice time. I would love to learn more. I would love to read more. I would love to produce more. I would love to do more podcasts. Eventually, I want to go into 2 podcasts a week, but I don't have the time, and that's something that I have to sacrifice. So first thing I would say is write down what it is you could sacrifice, because sacrifice is definitely the key ingredient number one. You need to learn what it is, uh, or think about what it is you're willing to sacrifice, because you won't be able to do anything and everything that you would love to do, unfortunately. But you can have the things that you are sacrificing as a treat, maybe once a week or a couple times a month. Sacrifice, take time to yourself, take time for yourself, rather. I would, the reason why I'm saying this is because I would begin now to say that meditation and taking time for yourself is a part of recovery too. Because obviously there's physical recovery, like ice bath, sauna, stretching, all that sort of stuff, foam roller. But you need to also recover your mind and let that have a sort of a reset and a refresh moment during the day. That will allow you to, let's say you go in the ice bath after a run, you'll feel refreshed and probably feel like you want to go for another run. It's amazing. That's a form of physical recovery that allows you to do more. But let's say you've done a lot during the day and it's only midday and you feel mentally fatigued and burnt out, just lie down, or read a book or listen to some music or go for a nap. Discover a form of mental recovery that works for you, and that will allow you to do more in a day. Absolutely, and that's what's worked for me anyway. But I'm positive that would work for anyone and everybody. It's something that I've never really heard of before, um, but something that I'm confident would 100% be of value to you listen to this. So I would say number one, sacrifice. Number two, take time for mental recovery. Number three, third thing that allows me to do more in a day. I mean, it sort of goes without saying, but just make sure that you enjoy what it is you're doing. If it's something that needs to be done, get it out the way as soon as you can. Not first thing in the morning, because there's exceptions to everything, right? But just the sooner the better with things you don't want to do. That leaves more time to do things you enjoy doing throughout the day. You might leave. Most people, they procrastinate and they leave the important things to the last minute. That's totally fine. I'm a culprit of that as well sometimes. It's something very difficult to escape, right? Procrastination. But let's say you leave something till the last minute and you tire yourself out throughout the day doing things you love, but it's a lot of things, right? And then it gets to the end of the day and you're tired, and the thing that needed to get done during the day that you didn't necessarily want to do, you've put it off and you're too tired, and now you're a day behind doing something that needed to be done. So third thing I'll say as well is just get shit done. Don't procrastinate. Okay, if there's something that needs to be done during the day, get it done as soon as you can. That allows more time for your daily routine to incorporate more of the things you love, right? I love everything that I do, or at least I enjoy everything that I do. I am only just starting to get into the habit of enjoying reading. It's difficult for kids people in my generation to enjoy reading because we've got such a shortened attention span due to social media. Learning how to come out of that, and if you've never picked up a book before but you love scrolling through social media, try and read 5 pages and you'll see exactly what I mean. It is a lot more difficult than it sounds, right? So reading was something that I didn't like initially, and I'm only just starting to enjoy it, but it was something that I knew was a necessity for who I wanted to become and where I wanted to go. And through repetition, I'm finally starting to enjoy it. But that's something I do first thing when I read. I'm only just starting to read every day. It used to be more of a once every 2-3 days because I didn't enjoy it much. But I smash it out first thing in the morning. Then that is done. That is done. The rest of the day is to do the things that I love. Obviously, there'll be more things to do. It's not just reading. That's the difficulty. But let's say I've got a free day. I've got nothing to do today. Anything and everything that I do today is completely up to me. Okay, well, I know what needs to be done. I need to read. So let's do it first thing in the morning. Get it out the way. So, to recap, I would 100% say sacrifice, discover and learn what it is that needs to be sacrificed in your daily routine. You won't be able to do everything and everything that you love, unfortunately, but find a time and place for it. Again, going back to the surfing, if you can't surf every day but you love it, do it once a week. Treat yourself. But find what it is you need to sacrifice. Develop the habit of mental recovery. Again, it could be very simple. It's just meditation. And if you've listened to my previous content, meditation doesn't have to be, what you probably envision, which is someone sitting with their legs crossed going hum for an hour. No, you can simply just lie on your bed, listen to calming music, close your eyes, go for a walk. That is a form of meditation, and it's a form of mental recovery that will allow you to refresh your mind and your brain and your body, because they're all connected anyway, and you'll be able to get more stuff done. You'll feel less fatigued throughout the day. And get all the important stuff, or rather the harder stuff, done earlier during the day. Just get out the way. So that's some advice I would give to you listening or watching this. If you're struggling with developing a routine, especially if you love doing so much in a day, there's a lot of people who have a solid routine and they don't need to do much in a day. That's amazing. If you're happy, wake up, breakfast, go for a walk, then go to work, come home, dinner, watch TV, sleep, repeat. Amazing. That's a solid routine that you can stick with. But if you're someone who loves so many different things and they don't really know how to cope or how to make a solid schedule with that, then those are 3 pieces of advice I would give. So, great question, and thank you so much for sending that one in. Now, the second one. How do you face problems / roadblocks? Now, I have been facing more and more since I started this podcast, because I've tried to push it, I've tried to grow it, and really put my face out there. So, of course, when you're getting up in people's faces, when you're getting up in people's faces and people's business, some people are going to love it, most people aren't, right? Whether, it could be all sorts of factors, from jealousy or just that maybe they don't like you, right? But that's not just that's not the only roadblock. It's not really a problem. It's more a roadblock. Problems could be money for setting up the podcast, or trying to think of some recent problems for me. Getting guests on the podcast, it's a lot more difficult than I thought. But just in general, I'll generalize this, because this obviously isn't just about me. Vaguely, if I was to answer this quite vaguely, how do I face any problems, any roadblocks? One thing that I have discussed about very briefly, so understandable if you haven't heard this before. You have to allow yourself to acknowledge those initial emotions. You're going to feel, obviously it depends on the problem, it depends on the roadblock, but chances are, problems and roadblocks, they are negative things. So you're going to feel some form of negative emotion or emotions, right? That's fine. It's natural. Like, allow those to come in, whether you cry or you feel angry or you feel anxious or confused. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. Don't do the worst thing you can do is block those emotions off. Allow them to come through, but don't allow them to take over and to persuade you into taking actions that you usually wouldn't, right? Because especially, or just emotions in general, but more of the negative emotions, they tend to cloud your decision making process, and you're gonna make stupid decisions, and you're gonna do stupid things, and so on and so forth. So allow those emotions to do their thing, as you would say. Acknowledge them, but then eventually you've got to let them. Eventually you've got to say to yourself, okay, that's enough. I acknowledge I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm anxious, I'm confused, I'm whatever. but we need to do something about this. So first of all, I wouldn't, most people would say, I don't know, go in with an open mind or don't let it affect you. No, first thing you've got to do is acknowledge how you're feeling, but do not let it consume you. And then you've got to really assess what it is you can and can't control. Okay, that's something that I'm super big on now, getting into stoicism. Is the whole problem, is the whole roadblock something you can or cannot control? If the whole thing you can't control, okay, you can't control it. Like you can't put any blame on yourself because there's nothing you could have controlled. If it's partial, if some of it you could have controlled and some of it you can't, assess the part that you could have controlled, or that rather that you can control, not could have, because that's in the past now. What can you control now that this problem or roadblock has occurred, and then act on that part that you can control. If you can't do anything about it, in other words, this whole thing you can't control, let it pass. Why would you let it affect you? You can't do anything about it anyway. It's completely out of your control. But if there is something that you can control within this roadblock or problem, act on that. So first of all, we've acknowledged our feelings, our emotions. We've acknowledged, the initial emotions rather. Second of all, we've assessed the situation, either thought or wrote down what it is we can and we can't control. Let's say we can't control any of it. Okay, done. That's it. You can't control it, done. There's nothing you can do, done. Why would you let that consume you? Why would you let that take over? There's nothing, literally nothing you can do about it, right? So why would you do something about it and be sad? By doing something about it, I mean that you doing something is being sad, because there's no other way to say it. Like there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. That's it. Done and dusted. Off to the side, and we continue with our life. But if there is something you can control, again, write down or think or talk to somebody else about what it is you can do. Assess the situation. If there's something you can control, then do it. Take action. Do something about it. That's it. Like if I was faced with a problem or a roadblock nowadays, I would go, damn, okay, that hurt. Or, okay, I'm feeling quite sad and quite down. I would personally write. That's why I always suggest writing. But I would write down, okay, I'll always think first. Not every single time I'll write down. But let's say in this situation, I think, and then I write down what it is I can control, what I can't control. If I can't control it, okay, cool, sweet. Who cares? It's not really a problem or a roadblock then, is it? Now that we've assessed the situation, because I can't do anything about it. Okay, I can do this. I can do this. Do those things. Do those things. Boom, take action. And then the cycle repeats. You'll do those things, and then either something will happen where you can or can't take control. And then again, you assess and you go, okay, what can I do about this? What can't I do about this? So on and so forth. I hope that makes sense. It's a very stoic approach to the whole, how do you face problems and roadblocks? But it is my approach. And if you haven't heard of stoicism, I'm sure I've talked about it before. It's amazing. It's a philosophy that you really should look into. And it's all about how can you deal with adversity and problems, roadblocks, and unprecedented times without letting your emotions take over. So, is there any other way? I honestly, it's a very short answer to a great question, but there's not much else. What I used to do was let my emotions take over and always try and do something about it. It's terrible, and that's what 99% of people do. I probably said, to be on the safe side, 90% of people do. It's fine. It's totally understandable, in fact. But what I do now, I'm honestly really trying to think of a recent problem or scenario. I don't want to take too long thinking about this, but really, okay, let's think of a more of a fun scenario. Today I went to the beach. I don't like deep water and don't like going obviously far out into the ocean because it's deep water. not a sofa, but we brought it was a paddle board, but it turned into more of a bodyboard because I stopped using the paddle, just paddle with my hands. And then a massive wave. I'm on the side. Usually when you are charging up a wave, you're straight on, right? So you can ride over the wave. I was side on, and I couldn't turn in time, and I could see it coming straight for me, and I'm already tilting. What can I control in that situation? Nothing. What could I? What you never want to think. What could you have controlled? That's in the past. We don't care. We do care, but we don't dwell in the past because that's gone. You can't go back in time. What could I have done? I will just for this instance, I will say what could I have done? I could have looked to my left and seen that there was a wave coming, and I could have moved so I was straight on, but I didn't. Okay, nothing we can do about that. But I've looked and it's way too late. I can see it's about to tilt me over. What can I control in that situation? Absolutely nothing. Just let it happen. Boom. There's nothing I could have done. And the waves took me, and then I think I'm drowning, but I'm like 2 meters away from the shore. Not a great swimmer either. Not a strong swimmer anyway. Yeah, and it's nothing I could have done about it. But again, it's a very silly, simple example, but nothing I could have done. And was there anything I did afterwards? Yeah, I got my paddleboard, I walked back up to the shore, and I was like, okay, cool. For next time, we will make sure you'll see if there's a wave coming or not. And I did, and I didn't stack it next time. So there you go. I assessed, realized there was nothing I could have done in this situation, but what I could do after was realize what I could have done for next time, and I did it next time, and I didn't stack it, thank God, because there was a lot of people at the beach. It was quite embarrassing. Anyway, third question. Now, I actually was asked this question in my last episode, episode 3. I hope I got that right, with Ashton Smith. But I asked it was a question that I asked him. And it was a question that I didn't answer myself, but I feel an absolutely incredible question to ask coming towards the end of 2023. What is the biggest challenge you have been through this year, and how did you overcome it? Plus, what did you learn from it? Now, it's a great question that I actually haven't really thought of prior to this podcast, because I really wanted to challenge myself and see what is the first thing that will come up in my mind naturally when I ask this question out loud to myself. And straight away, I would say it's just finding my purpose, or rather finding what it is I want to do. Have I found exactly what it is I want to do, or found my purpose yet? I don't know. I really don't know, because I feel every single day I'm getting closer and closer to what it is I'm set out to do in my lifetime, which is, I believe as of right now, to help people, to inspire people, and to help people, because I have seen it many, many times, especially from the mental side of things. I've seen amazing athletes, growing up as an athlete, not making it as far as they could because of the mental side, or because they just did stupid things, and it's just sad to see. And it was sad to see, but it's also easy to see that could have all changed with a bit of guidance, literally just a bit of guidance. So that's not the only reason why I do it. I have helped people in the past, and I get such an amazing positive feeling from it. And my mother's a counselor, so it's nice to have someone, within the four walls that cares deeply about the mental health side of things, and inspiring others and helping others. And she's worked her voodoo counseling magic on me, and I've been absolutely amazed by it and gone, I would love to do this to other people. Not voodoo stuff, but just help other people, right? It's amazing. So I feel at this point in time, that is at least very close. That is what I believe to be at least very close to my purpose, to help and inspire and to motivate other people into becoming something that they never thought they could be. So the biggest challenge I've been through this year is discovering that. Because when I think back to the start of 2023, I think, wow, that was actually a really long time ago. I have been through so much this year and I've changed an absolute ton. Mainly the hairstyles. So you'd have to really scroll back on the Instagram and the TikTok to find that out. In fact, I think I've deleted all the old posts, thank goodness. But I realize that I've come a long way and I've still got an a massive way to go still. But for a while, for a long, long time in 2023, I'll probably only say up until the last couple of months, I was extremely lost. And I think that was the most of 2022 as well. Very lost. No, 2023, because I graduated in 2022. It's when I finished school. Very lost, in a rut, tried many, many things, lost many friends, and the word embarrassed comes to mind. Not, I never embarrassed myself. It's just I knew I wanted to do something in social media, but I tried so many different things, and it was just a bit embarrassing because it's, 1 minute I'm doing self improvement, then I'm doing martial arts, then I'm doing music, and then I'm back to self improvement, and now I'm doing self improvement and music, and it's like, so what is this guy doing? Like it was a bit embarrassing, so that was a bit hard for me as well. Um, but eventually, I sat down every single night and would assess what it is I wanted to do and what it is I love to do. And then I realized, okay, let's cut the crap. This is what I enjoy doing, and this is what I would love to do. How can I tie these two together? So, biggest challenge was finding out what it is I wanted to do and my purpose, or at least get closer and closer to that. And that's how I did that, by talking to myself. Not literally like this. Sometimes I do talk to myself. Whether you think that's weird or not, that's fine. But sometimes I would write it down. Sometimes I would just think. Sometimes I would talk to my I would talk to my mother, right, or my dad, or my brother. Right, talk to other people, and really try and figure out what it is I wanted to do and what it is I enjoyed doing. And if you're facing problems in terms of what you want to do in your life, that is what I would say to do. That's the biggest thing I would suggest you doing. Think to yourself, what do you enjoy doing? Well, no, think to yourself this. Ask yourself exactly this. What is it I love to do? And what is it I would love to do? Or I would love to become? Where would I love to go? Where would I love to be? And what do I love to do? How can I tie those two together? What it is I love to do and where it is I would love to be, or what it is I would love to be. How can you tie those two together? There is a way. I guarantee you there'll always be a way, no matter what your situation is. So that was my biggest challenge, purpose, and what it is I wanted to do. I faced many challenges, but I'd say that's definitely the biggest one. And that is how I overcame that situation. Assessed it and took time and patience. This is a saying that I love, and I learned it this year. Sometimes you really need to just develop patience and understand the importance of patience. Because instead of hustling and bustling and being frantic, like, oh man, I need to figure it out what it is I want to do. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I was like, no. Instead, I'm going to relax. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to talk to people, talk to myself. I'm going to write down, and I'm going to think in my brain like a patient man would, right, patiently. How can I fix this? What can I do to fix this? And in this specific situation, what is it I love to do, and what is it I want to do or want to become? So instead of frantically trying to find the answer, I took a step back. Sometimes you've got to take one step back to go two steps forwards. Sometimes you've got to take, I'll say that again more clearly. Sometimes you've got to take one step backwards to take two steps forward. I'll say it one more time because I can't speak for some reason. Sometimes you have got to take one step backwards to go two steps forwards. And that is exactly what I did. Instead of frantically trying to search for my purpose and what it is I wanted to do, I took time to myself. I took many days out of many nights out of my life, instead of being on the PlayStation or watching YouTube or TikTok. I spent time with my thoughts, with pen and paper, with friends and family, and really tried to create a resolution for this problem. That is what I did, and that's how I was able to overcome that. And what did I learn from it? It's not something that everybody goes through. Every successful person goes through it, absolutely. But what did I learn from it? That you got to take one step back to go two steps forward sometimes. The importance of patience. That's what I was talking about before. I do apologize. One saying that I've learned this year, and I think it's amazing and ties into this perfectly. You can only do so much. Sometimes you just gotta be patient, right? That's not the saying. This is, but let's say it's not really a saying. It's more of an analogy. Yeah, it's not a saying. It's an analogy. Growing a plant, right? You plant the seed. You give it sunlight. You give it fresh air. You water it. You cannot speed. You've done everything you possibly can to grow that plant. Now, the only key ingredient to growing that plant is time. You've got to let it grow. You can water it as much as you want. You can give it as much sunlight and fresh air as you want, but you've got to give it time to grow. You can give it everything, but you can't rush it, right? So developing patience rather, I believe is an invaluable asset to attain, and that's something that I've learned the importance of this year. That's probably the main thing that I've learned from my biggest challenge this year, patience and spending time with yourself, being able to talk to yourself, whether it be internally or externally, writing things down, and being comfortable talking to other people and getting other people's verdicts and opinions. I think that's very important. That helped me, certainly. Not, leaving the ego aside. Ego can be a detriment to everybody. I was going to say to many people, ego can be a detriment to absolutely everybody. You got to put that aside, especially if there's a challenge or something that you're struggling with. Put the ego aside, get other people's opinions, see if anyone else can help. And yeah, there's nothing soft, right, in doing that. I'm speaking mainly for the men here. Like, there's nothing emasculine in asking for help and asking for advice and so on and so forth. You're not always going to have the answers. But yeah. So, I'm actually going to end off there. It was a quicker episode, this one. Only 3 questions, 3 absolutely amazing questions. I want to thank Indley, Braden, and Johnny for sending those questions in. Absolutely, yeah, amazing. I really love those questions. I was sent many other questions too, but I believe these 3 were the best ones for the time being. Like, it's the end of the year, especially the last question. A question that's, what's the biggest challenge that you faced this whole year? I think they're great questions to cap off the year. And this will be the last episode before 2024. Last episode of 2023. So that's why I chose those 3. Absolutely amazing questions. Of course, if you've got any questions for any of the upcoming podcasts, feel free to send them through on my Instagram. I was going to say TikTok, but I don't look at TikTok messages. Instagram, I've got a website coming soon, and mainly Instagram. Everything is linked to my Instagram, on my YouTube, my Spotify definitely should be linked, but I'll shout it out anyway. My Instagram is Ollie Emkin. That's OLLIEMKIN. From there, you'll find a link to everything: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, you name it, it's there, right? But that caps off the end of today's episode. Again, a quicker one, a solo one. I don't mind doing these solo ones. I loved having Ashton on the podcast last week, guest podcast. You guys seem to love the guest podcast too. Amazing. And I'm trying my absolute best to get a guest on every single week. sometimes there will be podcasts where it's just us, which is great. It's more of a one-on-one sort of conversation, because that's when it's just questions from the audience that you guys have sent in and I answer them to the best of my ability anyway. But I've been your host, Ollie Makin, and thank you so much for tuning into the Makin Mastery podcast, and I will see you all in the next one. If you're seeing this right now, that means you have made it to the very end of the podcast, which I am truly, truly grateful for. Thank you very much. Now, if you missed the last episode, you can check it out here. If you haven't subscribed, you can do that right here. Otherwise, all of my socials and everything is in the description down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.